the language rating on this podcast?
Whatever you want. Hi everyone, welcome back to a very special episode of Get Your Deck Out with me, Oldimo Dave. Back from his travels, in his new abode, we have Scott, 11's MTG, finally landed in the new house that he's been on about since about episode 10.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we're on episode 45 today, I believe.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, buying a house is not an easy process, but I am fortunate enough to be in the process of being able to actually own a house, which in the current day and age is, shall we say, more difficult than it should be. But I'm more interested in not speaking to you for once, Dave.
I know. Today we've got a very special guest. Loads of ways we could introduce him.
Three-time Pro Tour top 8 competitor.
Coverage
GP champion.
I guess that's true now. Yeah.
Yeah. Coverage superstar. Incredible record and resume, and also once took a picture with Scott.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I'm sorry to Ben Jones. You have been unseated as the best Magic player we've had as a guest on this podcast, because it's Eduardo Sajgalik.
Welcome to the pod.
Thank you for the intro. I'm not sure I'm the best player you've had, but I'm more theoretical these days. But
Alexi is having one hell of a run. I will say that. Alexi,
yeah, he's probably a better player than I am.
Yeah, he is having one hell of a run, and I believe it's not a secret French testing team, but it is a French cohort among testing.
Yeah, they're not secret. They did the last Pro Tour.
I know, but we say secret testing team because more people click on the video ad. That's
sure. Yeah, sure.
And I know they let Patrick Chapin in most recently, so it can't be that secretly when he is not French, but he just said he wanted to test with JED. So,
and actually, in the recent spotlight, we can actually even say that there's obvious signs that testing team and podcast overlap, because in Mengu's draft pick, 3 out of 5 people are previous podcast picks. So it was, there's a little bit of a circle going on there. Yes, we talk about on this pod about everything that's going on in the world of Magic. We usually film on a Monday, where we're wrapping up everything that we've seen in the RC circuit or the Spotlight circuit. There is quite a bit of Magic going on this weekend over in some of the Australasia areas. We do have a regional championship happening over in Bangkok, where we got some people playing from the World Council team. Like I say, notably Mangu. We hope when this comes out, we'll be giving you a big thumbs up and a well done. But obviously, we've got opportunity to speak to Eduardo for a little bit here on the Friday, and it's an opportunity that we definitely couldn't pass back. And mainly to start looking at like the run you've been on. Like, welcome back to the Magic scene, and welcome back to the top tables. You came along, you saw, you conquered, and I've got to start with, how did you get so many Roman thrones in one room? Like, that's quite impressive considering the cost and supply.
Yeah. Well, so to be fair with Roaming Throne, I could have bought them. They were available. It was not the hardest card to get. I did get 1 copy off a bunch of people. What helped was a teammate had 2, and then I found 2 more. That was okay. Dom Harvey and Saddleback Lagak. I can't remember his name right now, so sorry if you're listening. But the hardest one was Pit of Offerings, because nobody thought that card was playable. So we had to go to an LGS, and while the card was $1, the ride there was not $1. It was a lot more to get to the LGS, but it's how it goes, right? And it was good that we did it, because we tested in near the Washington DC area rather than Richmond, but it's good that we did that. We're also looking for some cards for Benton Matson's Rakdos Monument deck, and for sure we had to do it, otherwise we wouldn't have found those cards.
That is a sweet deck, though. That was well worth the effort, I have to say. As a Moonshadow and Monument to Endurance enjoyer myself, as someone who called out Iron Shield Elf as well. The second I looked at Lorwyn, me and Dave were looking through it. We're like, nothing super interesting at the common uncommon slot, and I was like, hang on, this is an unbounded discard outlet in black, which we haven't seen for a long time.
Yeah.
they're less scared about doing some of this stuff now for effects where they view it like, yes, it is unbounded, but you need work to make this occur, right? They're avoiding I think, it's kind of like when you look, one of the most important, I think, principles in life is the learning curve graph, right? Like, you go too much one direction and then the other, right? Like, as you learn and as you steer. And I think that's what happened with, I suspect, R&D is like, but we did a lot of once a turn effects, and then we veered too much on the other side, and now they're, I think, finding that sweet spot, avoiding like random zero cost things, but finding things where it's like, no, you can discard, like, yeah, okay, it works with some cards, but it's not like infinite, or it needs a lot of work to be infinite.
Yeah, it's a pendulum that swings back and forth, right? With, as you said, with life, but also in particular design. And I know we're not alone in talking about the amount of one mana effects they've done that say draw a card and have other text on it. I mean, see Storm Chaser's Talent, Boomerang Basics, anything in that family, where it has felt like they've gone maybe a little bit over the top with it. But I think that's also a symptom of they've moved to 3-year standard, and we're only really now going to be seeing sets that have been designed with 3-year standard in mind. I have to imagine it was not as much of a surprise for R&D as it was for us, but I have to imagine they weren't given a full 3-year lead time on it.
Well, I mean, they usually, well, I mean, you have that delay, right? But like, usually I think their sets are, they need 6 months to print, right? So then you have to add on top. I mean, that's all public knowledge. But
Yeah.
honestly, the way Pro Tour lore and equips went, I think they were probably over the moon in terms of the actual. I don't think they could have ridden a tournament like deck wise that would have been better.
No, as you said, like the deck that you played when it was built around the elementals from Lorwyn Eclipsed, and we saw a really great like variation of decks doing well, particularly at the top tables. Badger Mole Cub got absolutely cratered, which everyone was really scared about it taking over the meta, and like even someone like Prof had to come out and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was wrong."
Well, yeah. Well, to be fair, even in the testing for the Pro Tour, I had that moment of Cub of like, look, I just don't see it being beaten. But like, that was my stance. It was like, I do want to play something that beats it, but I don't see it. Like, the team found Blue White Control, which I think did beat it. I think other teams found Blue Black, which was probably a little better in this exact tournament, but like same vibes, energy, angle. But yeah, in the end, the elemental control deck came, mid-range deck came through. Probably because I guess my thought process was, I've done a lot of these events, even though I hadn't qualified in a long time. Like, yeah, sure, 10-6 is fine, but what's the point of these tournaments if not to shoot for the moon, right?
You gotta,
so if I was wrong, win them. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, right?
That's the mindset you need to top 8, though, right? And for an ex-pro as yourself, shall we say, that's everything I've seen online. And I mean, even you said it right at the start of this is more theoretical. If for the listeners that don't know, you lead the limited meetings for Worldly Council, and it's more of a support role that we won't necessarily see your name up in lights that much at the minute, but I suppose top 8 a Pro Tour's not bad.
A little, yeah. I mean, I hadn't played one in over 5 years. I think the Player Tour final, even though it was online, would count because that was a Pro Tour, in my opinion. It's a little weird what the qualifiers into it, but I would say that last event would be. The more importantly, I guess, than just the limited meetings, because the limited meetings are where the pictures are that come out online. It's more the like originally when I was on the team, it was just haphazard. Okay, who's qualified and needs help, and just band together. And I knew Zen, so I just offered to help. And at the start, it was a lot more limited meetings. The first one especially was, well, I'm not at the house, just Thursday. Here's what I think about March of the Machines Limited. Very basic. It was fine. Nothing special. The Lord of the Rings is when we started looking at 17 lands data, and then like we had to kind of prove by force almost. So by like showing the blue-red archetype, it put them on the radar that like this data isn't random, you should pay attention to it. Then we went into using data that backfired for the Eldraine worlds because it wasn't like the right strategy to just force the quote-unquote best archetype. Like it encounters the same mistakes as in Constructed, right? Like it would lead you to playing Cub or back airbending for Pro Tour Lorwyn, right, to do that type of approach. So sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So I went back to the drawing board a little bit and the one that was really the two that were really an awakening for me were Murders Arkalov Manor and Modern Horizons 3. Murders, because I didn't think what I did was that complicated or substantial, but it was more about this is the mana curve, this is what you need to do, like these are the rules of engagement of the format, this is how you have to draft your decks, these are the late cards that like this is why tricks matter instead of removal, like not just like data wise, like okay, this is how you have to approach the format. And it didn't feel like look back at it, it didn't feel like super complete or complex, but we did extraordinarily well, and I was wondering why. And then I kind of botched, I think, for Outlaws, but for Modern Horizons 3, the big difference for me was we're in a group of 20, which was probably too much. But the big difference we found was that approach when complete was ludicrous. Especially, I think a year and a half ago, people were just warming up back to limited. So being able to teach the team essentially what became more standard for us, which is a multilateral approach, which is basically, emotively, you sit down to play and you open your booster pack, right? Because I've competed before, I know what it is, right? You open your booster pack, there might be things going through your head, but you open that pack, you have to make a decision. And that's okay, but the tough part is when you get to pick 1, 5, 6, right? You have less time, and those are the picks that really define the direction of your draft, not 1, 1, but like 1, 6, 1, 7. So I know what the emotional weight is of those, right? So I was like, okay, well, what do I need to draft well at that level, right? And really, it's that approach. It's the, okay, well, I know where I want to go. So for MH3, I was discussing the concept that a lot of people are calling it a synergy format, but it's actually an engine format. So very briefly, not to redive or go too late into this, an engine format is essentially like the best cards were the ones that fed you to more portions of your deck, but like we're looking at a lot. So you had like the blue black draw free mechanic, you had Malevolent Rumble. So a lot of the best cards were the ones that were digging you well far into your deck. You had the common fetch lands also, because there wasn't just 1 but 10. It started making your deck like it started like mathematically changing the odds of how you were drawing into your deck,
as opposed to having like one evolving wilds in just a normal standard format.
Yeah, so like in New Capenna, you had a little bit of that too. So you could make your deck deterministic in certain spots. So like that's what I meant by an engine format, is like you could make your deck hum like an affinity deck would, not like how a normal draft deck would. So like we understood that for all the archetypes that were available. Black White wasn't an archetype, so it didn't exist, right? There was no
I tried.
Yeah, we gave it a go. We gave it a go.
Yeah, but there's just nothing, right? So like everything else was though. So it was like approaching the format where like, here are the rules of engagement for the format, and here's what the approach is for you, and then for each archetype, that's how you modulate that approach, right? So and then we did it unbelievably well. That was like by far, I think, for the number of people and our performance, if it wasn't like the best, I think it was like our average was 2-1 or 65%. It was ludicrous.
That's insane.
Yeah,
right. But
for the people listening that aren't super entrenched in Pro Tour level competition, if you find a deck that has a 54% win rate on paper for Constructed, that's good. We're happy with that, as long as it has a reasonable spread against the field, that sort of thing. If that's just the level 1 approach of, say, playing Cub at Lorwyn Eclipsed,
yeah, it's fine, right? And you're hoping to be on the positive side.
Absolutely
right?
Fine. That's the level 1. So having a 66% win rate on average in limited especially, where it's worth a lot more than a lot of people think at Pro Tours, that is insane.
Yeah, and back then we had Marcio, Sean on our team, but we had a lot of newcomers as well. So like for me, the big metric of success is how the newcomers went, which is why for Lorwyn I wasn't the happiest. Like I keep learning. Like I thought Lorwyn was interesting because it was one of the few sets where your ceiling strategy and your floor strategy aren't the same. Normally, if you teach people how to draft better, the floor and the ceiling tend to go together. Lorwyn was one of these weird sets where the ceiling and the floor are not the same. So like because of how late you have to ideally dive into an archetype because it's table signals, but unadaptable table signals, right? If you get the Merfolk Lore pick 2 pack 8, right? Like getting it right implies that you will get high equity, but you need to be able to engineer positions to do that, which is very difficult. So like when that's why when I released the video, I was very adamant about like, no, like it's okay to just go like, I'll draft this archetype and that's it, because it's one of the few sets where even at Pro Tour level, I should have identified that like the skill differential for it was too marked.
Yeah,
and should have given it and I'll know for the future. Most sets won't have it, but I just don't want to. I think it's important for teaching longevity and support to identify and not make the same mistake twice. I don't mind making an error, right? Even if people trust, as long as that doesn't get repeated.
Is that part of playing on a testing team in general? Because I've recently qualified for my first regional championship, despite playing the game for a long, long time.
Doesn't matter. All successes are worth celebrating.
Yeah, and I have a local group of players that I play with, normally once a week, sometimes twice a week. I'll play a bit of Magic Online on the weekends if I can. I'll play Arena on my phone in work if I can get some spare time, that sort of thing. But in terms of someone like me who doesn't have a testing team, is the first piece of advice from you going to be find a testing team?
A little more nuanced.
I love it.
Yeah, well,
give me as much nuance as you want.
Number one is don't just play against me, like the other member of the podcast. Like find someone who like might put up more.
I've got a 96% win rate with this deck, Dave.
Yeah, yeah, marginally. So, I mean, one of the and to be honest, some of this stuff is newer. Like I keep trying to figure out how to test for construct, and our team's still trying. Like we're not satisfied where we're at right now. Like our decision-making process isn't where it should be. Whereas our theory, we know where.
How many people are on Worldly Council?
I'd say we have like 10 static and then like a bunch dynamic. Like in the core team, we probably have 10, 15, and then like a ton dynamic, like up to 100.
Anyone who wants
in the regional championship group.
Yeah, anyone who wants to listen, there was a really good Myra went on the battle chats earlier this week, and I think he and Maria was with him as well, EP44 girl. They sort of talked a little bit about that as well, and it was interesting to see. It's almost like an academy graduation moment of we try to bring people through, because if we don't bring people through, we end up without the core eventually is just going to end up weakening if we don't keep getting strength coming through.
That's like a survival approach to it. The core of it too, for me, from a core values point, is like originally the team was a place for people who couldn't find a home, and we realized at some point that like the Pro Tour was just not the way to do it, because if you have a core team, you restrict who can come in, right? So the regional championship group is the best thing we've done as a group by far, because it allows us to afford a larger audience of people we can take care of, without necessarily be concerned of like +1, -1 doesn't matter, right? Like we don't have a physical limitation probably in most spots. As long as the person is motivated. We also implemented interviews. We had like the problem you usually do when you invite friends in a group, like they're used to trashing the home and others aren't, and whatever. We fixed that. Mostly, yeah, I would say actually that's a big fix we did after the first one. But so the big thing I learned was that there's a very old adage in Magic, right, which is play with people who are better than you. But the truth is, you're going to do that in the tournament anyways. So it's actually, I think, false, and it's leading people to even apply to us, which with the wrong approach. So like, people apply to us, and the problem is because the approach is wrong, it's very hard for me to entertain really the ad, because we have people coming in from the regional championship group. So like I already have a very hard restriction on who I can put in numerically. And I understand, right? Like, because you qualified and stuff, you're like thinking, right? So the problem you have, right? And that's why I helped the team, and this is where the nuance is coming in, right? Is I wasn't qualified, so my incentives were very different. My incentive was to give the best shot possible to anybody on the team, right? That's my incentive. My metric for success is how well the team did. I don't care about my result, right? It's irrelevant. I'm not playing. 100% of my time is dedicated to helping the rest of the team, right? And even like now, it's not 100% because I have to help myself, but it's clearly engineered that I am mostly still helping because that's where my motivation is, which is fine.
And that's where, when you mentioned like the theoretical like support kind of role, that's where that comes from.
Yeah, I think like Magic Theory hasn't been looked at in a long time too, so there's a lot of catch up to do and some cool stuff. Like, I mean, I've had people ask me like, well, can you just, there's not really articles on the fundamentals of draft. I'm like, yeah, if you don't use the Wayback Machine, that is actually a true statement. And I'm like, we just take for granted things because the game's long. Like, it's all oral history, and the thing is, we haven't challenged kind of long leaning wisdom, and one of those is that, right? You have to play with better players. But when I recall how I got better at Magic, it wasn't somebody better than me. It was somebody at the same level. You know, different formats were a bit stronger or weaker. It was just that the person I tested with, one of my better friends who unfortunately passed away years ago, is we were both unbelievably motivated. So like the motivation was raising us up. And the top 4 at the Pro Tour only came because of the motivation of the regional championship team. No chance with, if we were locked to just our Pro Tour team, I don't think I wouldn't have made it. We wouldn't have identified Winter Night Stories. That would have just not existed, right? So like that would have put me in a like I would have had a nice deck, but I don't think I would have had some of the wins I would have crucially needed.
It might have been like 10-6, re-queue, stay on the train,
and it would have been cool, but like, you know, and like, oh, highlight that, like, instead of like the story became. And it challenged me like to go like, because I, you know, yes, the people on the Pro Tour team on average are better players than the average regional championship player, but their motivations are different, right? So your concern, right, is how do I will do well in the competition? That emulates for the Pro Tour as well. When we're like testing Tuesday, people are just like, how can I do the best? And then they take actions that don't help them to do the best because their motivation forces them down a path that is not helpful to them, which longer explanation. Whereas what you want is people who like have are motivated but have different motivations, right? The RC group is motivated about standard later. They're more motivated about discovering the format and exploring. So they're more open to exploration because they don't have the concern of the tournament coming up, right? Mm-hmm. Their concern is this correct or not to play this deck? And it has nothing to do with whether I succeed or not. It has entirely to do with whether this deck is correct or not, which is the question I want answered.
Yeah, understood. Right? You know, as you mentioned in this sign about how the Elementals deck was a build and it was focused on trying to get exactly the goal you have, which is top 8 and finish highly.
I mean, you know, speculatively.
Speculatively.
I didn't expect it.
But you know. Is there any you can recall in like the past where you like took an absolute, as the kids would say, YOLO at a deck, and you can go and it completely bombed, but in your heart of hearts you thought you'd broken it and it was going to completely change the game, and you went 0-4?
I don't know if I was ever arrogant about a deck to that degree. There were decks I thought were good that ended up not good. I played Demonic Pact at a Pro Tour, so that was really bad. But I got good advice from...
That deck was sick.
I know, but it was really bad. But I got good advice from Simon Gertzen on the last sideboard slot, which was like, look, it was like between like Sphinx's Tutelage and Jace Vryn's Prodigy or Dragonlord Silverguard, one of the 2 mythics. And his advice was like, look, he was basically trying to tell me the deck was bad politely. He could have been more forceful about it, would be better, but it's okay. And he basically told me, look, let's say you're wrong. Which card would you rather have? I'm like, okay. So, and it turned out that indeed having the powerful mythic meant that I could play a bad blue-black control deck rather than an unplayable blue-black control deck. So I went like, you know, an effective 5/5 instead of a disaster.
I take that.
But to answer your question on the regional championship group, for me, it's find people who are as motivated as you are. That can be a testing group. That's totally possible that you identify with a testing group that has similar values and you can just join them. That's cool. It might be that there's a local community of yours that is going and is very motivated and wants to play on. That's cool too. The big thing is finding people who are motivated. Regardless, even if it's not a testing group, just make one. It's not. We one of the people we had coming for the team for Canada was Caleb from Newfoundland, and I specifically didn't take him on for future regional championships because he was the leader of his local community function by de facto. And I was like, look, I'd rather coach you and teach you to be a leader in your local community than take you away from that.
That's
And
solid.
he did. And now they like grow as a group to each regional championship. So instead of like being 2 or 3 people, they're like 10 going, and they managed to get a person on the pro tour. And so you know, there's I think that's important is something is really important is how to build those local groups and connections, right? And also like making sure that like you're not hanged out to dry when it happens. You know, the group, if somebody qualifies, would help you. I think is important regard because they're motivated for you to do well, even if they're not going, ideally, right?
Yeah, for sure.
One of the best stories I've heard recently of somebody applying for us, Nicholas Odenheimer, because I interview and ask about stuff, and you know, I asked him for his first pro tour when he was alone, what he did, and he told me, well, I organized you know, because I realized like I qualified because friends, family supported, right? So I just organized a big barbecue and you drafted and played constructed all weekend. I was like, that's perfect, exactly. Like, and the thing is, it's just an uncommon story. Most people like, you know, panic. They're like, I qualified to this thing. I need to play with better players, and I'm just begging, right? To play with better folks, which is okay. I get it, but for me, the key difference maker and the people who have always surprised me positively are the ones who are motivated and galvanize people to be motivated around them, regardless of skill level. Like the skill level argument, I think, is way overblown. I don't think you need star. Like you do need some people who know what's going on, but I don't think you need like a ton of star players on a team.
Yeah,
like,
I think it kind of like,
unless you're like chasing sponsorships and stuff like that. Like we're not.
yeah, it kind of like links in and makes sense into like almost the joke point I make about Scott shouldn't just play against me, but like it's because we're just like best mates. So like our games are absolute like shit talks, and like we've had a moment recently where like to get in my skin, he said over my folder and went, you have lethal there, and I'm just like looking at the board and I'm like, how the hell do I have lethal? It was so obvious, Eduardo. Quite embarrassing. I talk about Magic on a podcast and I missed it, if I'm honest. But because he like that's the fun game we were playing, but it's not testing, as you say. So and if and you know, taking that focus and go like, right, you're going to jam that deck, you're going to jam that deck, and we're going to put ourselves in certain positions to check how things are going. Is
like doing it together is important.
Yeah, but also simultaneously in that situation, Dave, I didn't want to just tell you what the lethal was, because it is Dave has played a hell of a lot of Pioneer and a hell of a lot of Standard, and he has not played a lot of Modern, and he's starting to get into Modern now with the upcoming Modern RCQ season. Modern is the format that I've played the most, like by a margin. It didn't need Modern chops. It wasn't like particularly complicated. I think he just purely psyched himself out, and I was like, no, it's fine. Like you figure it out because you can, and I know you can. And I don't know if that speaks to what you said, like with that motivation of me trying to get Dave to do it as opposed to telling him. And
I mean,
that's not, I hope that doesn't come across
so
as
Scott,
me
that was just
boasting.
shit talk. That was shit talk.
Yeah.
It's fine. We can all take it.
You say that,
it's
but
just
like,
a relationship, right? Like that's the core for me is as long as your motivation is to improve each other, then things will fall in place.
And we talked about it afterwards, and that's the thing. And we probably for our own bet development could definitely get a lot better with that kind of stuff. And I know some of our core local friends who really are into Pauper, and it's in like it's their big main game, and they will go and do their Wednesday play, like the sort of 4 or 5 of them who will go off to Paupergeddons and things, because although they do a really good job of trying to fester a local community and just get people into like literally play their absolute piles, and they'll play with them and they'll like sort of like coach them a bit. Their real testing they do on a Wednesday on them by themselves, quiet. And if you come with, there's a group chat with like, what decks you playing? What do you mind playing? Do you not mind playing this? Like it's kind of got a little bit more focused. They have a good time, but it's with a bit more purpose than just sitting down and jamming a few games.
Yeah, just playing with purpose, playing motivated, desire to improve, openness to improve as well. I think I don't have any problem as well. Like we usually don't. one of the things we do in our team is we realize like people have lives, right? And like you don't have infinite time to dedicate to this. So within the reasons of what you have, right? If you have exams, like, okay, fine. Like do those, and then like we'll work around you. The big thing, and I think it's also about being honest, right? If you like have a lot going on in life, you don't have time to test and stuff. I think it's more honest to go like, I don't actually, this is not a tournament for me to improve. This is just, I'm going to play and have fun. And I think it's better to be honest about that stuff. Like going like, my goal for this is not to improve, it's to do well. And I'm just going to, because they're different goals fundamentally. They feel like they're the same, but they're not. Like the wanting to improve is not the same goal as wanting to do well at the competition. They're not like like they can't obviously be combined, but I would definitely say that like my recent tournament success has been the results of years and years of like looking at the approach we had for limited, for constructed, and re-challenging the things the way they've been done and rethinking about them.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I wouldn't have built the intuition. We wouldn't have had the regional championship group in the first place to even talk to.
I don't think anyone who's listened to this for the last half an hour will think, oh, this Eduardo, he's not very analytical, doesn't really think about the game very much, just goes based on vibes. I'm not sure anyone could have that opinion. It is, you definitely
not for
have
serious
a
competitions.
very...
I'll do vibes for anything like Mystery Booster 2 draft or something. Like I don't want to analyze. There's stuff I just don't want to analyze, right? Or like my game dev friends play Commander 9. I don't want to analyze. Just give me whatever deck. I'll have fun with whatever. But obviously, yeah, if I care about the competition, I'd rather play less competitions.
Yeah,
focus more on the ones I do.
It sounds like you'd for another podcast you'd wade in quite nicely on the sideboard guide debate that comes up online from time to time. Our friends in the Riftbound community seem to have kind of not really understood the boat, and have gone, I'm gonna they either get really really mad and really really triggered behind it because they saw Magic players make sideboard guides with sort of like some with like notes and coaching. But what they seem to have done in Riftbound is they've gone, hey, I won a best of card, so I'm going to charge you $30 for me to like put a bit of AI generation behind a paywall, and that's going to help you win. Like,
the Metafy AI guy stuff, yeah, that's just nonsense. I mean, to be fair, like we're talking about wanting to improve or not. Like you just don't want to improve at writing. You just want the result. But like, it's a question of whether you care about like yourself, like short term or long term. And there's not a right answer. Look, honestly, if you're 24 and you're like, I'm going to have to work full time in 2 years' time, and I'm making money off Riftbound, which is new and not as much money is going to be in it. Like you can look at the trajectory of Lorcana, right? Like at the start, it's golden age. It'll get to silver age and go down. It's just normal for TCGs. There's not like, I'm not being insulting here. Right?
No, you're right. Yeah.
So like, yeah, I'm going to milk this for what it's worth and do it. I'm like, yeah, sure, that's your take. Like I don't blame you for doing it. It's just I don't personally want to throw a cent that way or a penny of attention or anything, but that's me. And everybody is distinct. And you know, I obviously grew up in an era of more free information, right? My first tournament win was from reading the Sideboard magazine, Strategy for Richard Owens, Draft Strategy, and Onslaught, right? Like, I mean, things that
be still my beating heart.
Right. So you know, we talked in the pre-show about the X-Pro part, but for me, Magic is truly like, it's a hobby I take extremely seriously. I think that's the best way to put it. And it's a reason recently I've not been charging anything for content that I make. Because it was normal when like 10 years ago, right? Like I was making a living off of Magic, right? Like the commentary was paying for my rent. When I was a pro player, I earned very little, but I also needed very little to live, so it worked out, right? Now career wise, I'm looking at other things. I can make money in Magic, but there's no way, like at my current age and lifestyle needs, that it's not even close to what I need, right? So consciously or unconsciously, I have to. I can't really professionalize it properly, and I'm also not the biggest fan of hustle culture. Like, there's a thing you like. It's okay to just enjoy your hobbies. So one of the things is I realized if I'm not seeking to build a platform and I'm not looking for money, the type of content I make can be very different. It can be as slow as I want. It doesn't have to be high quality. It can be messy. It can like there's things to explore there that I enjoy a lot. So that's why I don't. I mean, I'm not gonna say never because if you're unemployed and need money and like I'm not gonna say if at some point I go like, look, coaching is obviously clearly the best dollars per hour I can do, and it's a very low hanging fruit. I'll jump into it, sure, whatever. But I try to make sure the content that I do, like the ECL draft strategy, or I'm trying to work on something that's longer term, like how to advanced testing for Magic, right? Like I want to make sure that stuff is not just free but public, like away from having to sign up to a platform, like because I just see what happens, right? I don't mind these platforms. Medify is a great platform. I talked to somebody behind the scenes on it. I think it is great. Like I'm not sponsored or anything. I genuinely think it's a good platform.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to necessarily write what I'm writing on there. I would rather, like I'm doing it in Google Docs, but with like the way things are going, I might just put it in LibreOffice and have a download link somewhere in the Internet Archive and make it really archaic. But the point of that is that as archaic as it is evergreen. There's no, this website goes down. There's no junk, like, it's downloaded, it's protected, like it's known and protected, right? It's not paywalled, so I don't care what your personal situation is. Maybe you can't read it right away. Maybe you need time. So like that's what I'm hoping longer term.
I think that's why so many people gave so much good attention to like Dom Harvey for the Amulet Titan Bible, and it's why if someone asks me how to play limited, because in my local group, as much as I am not quite 30, despite looking like a rough 36, I'm one of the more long-term players in my group. There's people who've been playing since the 90s, that's fine. But in terms of limited, a lot of the newer players haven't barely touched it. And if I'm going to point someone towards limited content for a beginner, it's not your content. But if someone is saying, right, I've done 30 drafts of ECL on Arena, how do I improve more at it? I'm in high plat or diamond, but I'm stuck. How do I get further? And shout out, like, for example, a local player, Sarge. I'm going to shout him out because I have to imagine we missed a week because I was off, but it's now, I think, 9 weeks in a row. He's our local, like, limited master. And I know for a categoric fact, if he listens to this episode, he is going to love every minute of it because of the high-level talk about draft and the discussion about formats like MH3 and how it's different to Law and Eclipsed. And he will have watched your videos. He just will have, because it's the kind of content that he in particular is crying out for. And when you're not paywalling stuff, it's the impression I get from you, and it's, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's you just really fucking love the game and you want everyone to play it and you want loads of people to play it at a high level and as many people to do it as possible. So even just putting this out there, even though it's not necessarily for everyone, people can look at it and go, oh, there's so much more to this than I ever could have imagined.
Yeah, the core for what I do is again, because I don't have to locate a specific audience, even though there is one, there's a message, right? I'm still marketing trained in that sense, but it's really for I view two types of listeners. One is the fundamental listener, right? The one who really dives into that, right? Like they're a hobbyist who really wants to know like the most of the most, right? So they listen to that. But I like to picture a second type, which is the people that are outside of that. And potentially really outside of like maybe they come from outside of Magic, like they don't even play the game, but that they could just see how far things can go in a way that is approachable enough that they don't have to get it, but they can understand what's roughly going on. Because I want to introduce more people to limit. Like, here's the thing, right? There's all these card games, and I get asked, as I suspect any player who actively plays a competitive card game gets asked, what about this card game? Do you not think it's good? And the same answer I do is, yeah, they're good, but they're all good. The one thing though is there's no game like limited in Magic. I have looked there's just nothing, right?
Well,
I have played them all.
Have you never played draft Pokemon? It's like
Well,
that, I know that's the example.
You can like, yeah, I mean, yeah, you could like, I guess, do.
But that's
what
what every other game tends to cry out for, is when you look at this sealed version, and you can't in Pokemon. There's no the packs make no sense. Right?
The closest thing you can do in Pokemon is like cards I own sealed, which is totally reasonable, right? And I bought 6 or 7 packs. Let's make the deck I can out of this. And same as Magic, and for me, it's the original TCG format is cards I own, right? So sealed is effectively just like cards I own, but we're not going to give you infinite money, right? You have like the whatever it was back then to get an alpha starter and some packs or something. So and the thing is, there are games that have draft like mechanics. Seven Wonders is one I really enjoy. Yeah, I mean behind. Yeah, we can see all.
It's just over there.
yeah.
I've got Seven Wonders. I've got Dominion. All of it.
Dominion attracts a different type of audience too. It's just like, but there's nothing like a designed for limited Magic set out there. There's no other game that does it. I think it's a big reason a lot of players come back to Magic over time. It's just like there's an experience there that cannot be replicated by anything else. And to be honest, the competitive community seems to be agreeing recently, right? Like we had free spotlights in Standard that had like, I don't remember the exact numbers, 700 each roughly, maybe less, maybe more.
Yeah, it's around that number.
The Vivi ones weren't great, but the recent ones.
No, I'm not counting the Vivi ones. That was those I count as a mismanaged format. That's a different. I think that was egregious. That was just a mistake. But I'm not counting those. Those don't count for me, because it's like I don't count Shiba because there was a promo that was worth $600 for signing up, right? Like it's kind of
Well,
it doesn't matter what the format is.
Well, the limited ones have been excellent, and I found it quite funny how people have asked why is Standard so wrong? And like I think even as someone who's not even that good at limited, like I could take all the random Magic players we have in WhatsApp groups, and if we said, right, you can come to this event, it costs this much, you're going to walk away with this is the experience you can get. Limited is really great, and you can come in at a 0 skill, really high skill, and have fun with the whole event. So I'm actually glad to see that it's becoming something that everyone's getting their teeth back into, and not just going, oh, it's going to be really hard. I don't really know.
Especially
how it
at
works.
a pro level as well.
I don't know how
it's still
popular
on the
the team
tour.
sealed ones will be. That's a different that format is very. It's great, but it's very old school archaic. I'm looking forward to
bring back Rochester draft.
That's even more. We tried once, and anyways. So, but I think one of the things for me, and it's the same with all the TCGs, right? I think the issue is it's actually reversed, right? Like I'm pretty analytical and limited, but I think for this, the answer is not an analytics; it's an emotion. It's just like when I look at like how people play Riftbound or Lorcana, like the big ones, right? Like the ones that like attract people. And I look at the Magic events because the limited spotlight for me in Toronto was 1,800 capped, couldn't feel like bonkers event, right? It wasn't just a limited event too. Like all the side of like the CDH thing was full, like everything was full. Like Saturday morning, you could not play. If you hadn't signed up, there was not a space for you.
Wow.
Yeah, right. In Canada, in Toronto, in winter, it was minus 15 degrees centigrade. Anyways, so why? And the answer is just passion, right? Like
Canadians are just nuts,
right? Because we try to look at it analytically. Like you go, like, oh, the money for Standard. These are all like these are fundamentally excuses. Like, yes, there is a point where that's true. If Standard decks were 10 grand, sure, I'd concede the point on monetary, right? But like we're talking about flying to an event or going to an event, right? And cost of hotel and stuff. That's at least got to be half your deck at the high end of the format, if not the same, right? So you're paying as much to do the event as you're, like golf doesn't have this problem, right? Like, and the club's cost infinite. Like it's just that's the nature of the beast we play. Now I'm still a pro of accessibility. I'd rather there were options that were not infinite dollars to play. So there can be a problem there, but like Standard was super popular when Jeskai Black was a deck with Jaces at $100. It was $1,000 pre-inflation. The Standard was fine then. Very played. It's just passion.
It was Fetchlands, Jace Prodigy, as you said, for the people who weren't around at that point. I think at one point they were like $1,200. And as you said, that was in 2016, 2015?
2015, yeah.
So
and that was like mega
nowadays
expensive.
that's $2,000.
Yeah,
Easy.
inflation adjusted.
Yeah. Like with inflation, right? Like, and the format was popular, so it's not. We try to be too analytical on this stuff. It just comes down to passion, right? Like, you can compare it to Chiba, right? Like, yeah, sure, the cloud promo creates passion, but sure, why not? It's also Final Fantasy in Japan.
Yeah.
Right? Let's be real.
Japanese people aren't passionate about Final Fantasy at all. That's
I mean, I am differently, but the video game collection doesn't have a bunch of those titles, but more on the CD side that's over there. The thing was, you know, you look at the standard events, there wasn't really, unfortunately, passion behind them. And you look at the limited event and there was. It's just that simple.
best format of Magic.
But like, people are like, oh, it's not doing as well as ever, they're botching it. I'm like, maybe, but the answer is not as complicated as one might think. The promos are okay. I do think that Liliana Vest I agree with experimenting with collector promos, because I think that promo is probably better than it seems, that because it's a core character. Let's see how it does. But that's the type of promo you launch when like the things are going well and you're testing something, not when the problem is galvanization and passion, right? Especially today, people have a wealth of options of what to do. So to get them to dedicate one of their precious weeks off, precious extra resources off, to go like, okay, I'm going to dedicate my time for this thing. The thing has to really matter to them, right? We don't, now before, standard was like a week by week thing. It was like, yes, you pay the grand, but you play like a tournament, and especially in the US with the SCG circuit, right? You play a tournament every week. So like the passion is more in the repetition, right? There's a group of people who are very passionate into playing Magic, not for just one event, but a bunch. And that's cool. Not my thing anymore, but like I was there. I get it. Super cool. Lorcana, Riftbound are getting people passionate. Flesh and Blood, I think, is more mature now. Like the passion probably ebbs and flows. I don't follow the game closely enough, but I would guess some tournaments attract more passion than others. It's just the game of passion, right? And standard right now is not driving passion. It is interesting. It's intricate. Lots of strategies, super good to play at. I guess I don't like constructed anymore too much, but it's playable. It's interesting. So what's going on? Who's actually like passionate about going to a standard event? And I'm not saying it's a blame standard.
With that in mind, though, because myself and Dave have done a fair whack of TO work in South Wales. We've done a little bit around the UK as well. We can fire constructed events like fairly comfortably. Most people have a deck or can borrow a deck. But even at a local level, getting 6 to 8 people together for a draft, nigh on impossible. Why do you think that is? When
just your local community is not
events,
passionate about that. Like when I played in Cambridge, there were like 24-person drafts every Tuesday. It's just each community has a thing they're passionate about, right? That's all it is. It's just like, and it's fine. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with a community that, I mean, I would love limited, love to introduce, but if the community is like, look at Bravo play constructed and limited, then that's your local group, right? I think we make the mistake of going like, people prefer modern over standard. I think fundamentally comes down to passion, because, right, like when the passion levels went down, we noticed modern attendance started going down in my region for the qualifying stuff. And it's because the passion on modern had gone down. It's not because modern's a worse format. Modern is probably a better format, actually, than it was when Fury and Not Dead After All were around. Yeah. Well, I mean, technically one of those cards is still legal, but
Fury,
Grief Not Dead After All was not
the One Ring, all that sort of stuff.
Wasn't that a fun summer, everyone?
People were complaining about the same things for standard, right? Accessibility, new cards, all the same stuff, right?
I was really passionate about modern format. Like using your words, I was playing like Cascade Beanstalk with the One Ring, and I really enjoyed that deck. I really enjoyed the tournaments I was playing with that, and you're absolutely right. I was attending more tournaments then than I am now.
Yeah, and back then there was Splinter Twin and stuff. Like, you need to ban cards because, like, I mean, VV Cold, right? We went through that. But for me, it's a question of how do you reignite that passion? Like, you can attract with extrinsic rewards, right? You can go like, here, if let's say instead of Liliana Vest, they put like Mox Opal for Chiba and London. Like, yes, a bunch of people will show up, right? Just to collect and stuff. the problem is, how sustainable is it? Probably with Magic more sustainable than you think, because Magic has so many options. But you know, like I heard stories of people playing Riftbound tournaments and like, yeah, the side events, you went 2-0 and got a $2,000 card. And like, yeah. If all I cared about was the extrinsic reward, why would I do anything else, right? So it's how, and there are multiple ways to be passionate about events. The best events are the ones that are like that conflux of different passions, right? Where like the gravity of attendance from others is driving more and more people, right? Like we're thinking about the old Vegas Modern Master releases, Grand Prix, like things like that really attracted people. The Magic Cons are actually a reasonable solution to this problem, by the way. Because
I was going to say, like, in terms of the passion at the pro level, I know you are a self-admitted ex-pro, but you obviously top 8.
I still care about the Pro Tour World Championships.
Yeah, and
like
from a, shall we say, normie perspective, so that is myself, Dave, people who are external to the Pro Tour as a minimum, but also a lot of times regional championships, the Mox, that sort of thing. We're external to all of that. We see videos from people like Steve Stillman, like Jim Davis, where it looks
Sembog, I'll shout out any of those people. Like honestly, all those videos are great.
From their perspective, the passion is there, and everyone seems really excited to be there. It seems like Pro Tours are nowhere near as cutthroat as they might have been in 2003, where you didn't know if someone was cheating against you or trying to steal your wallet.
Maybe the technical term, but
yeah,
I think if someone's cheating, I wouldn't put that cutthroat, because that's more like pirate, like that's more brigand, being a brigand on the highway.
You can argue about Morrow's opinion on people like Mike Long as to whether that was being encouraged.
Sir, what's the language rating on this podcast?
Whatever you want.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah, we're 50 minutes in. You're allowed to swear. I think I dropped a shit about half an hour in.
No, but seriously, screw that. No, fuck that guy.
Fuck Mike Long. Like none of the absolute horse shit about, he was a character, he helped build the game up. Nah, fuck you. He was a cheater.
I played against some of these people, like the first years I had on those events. Like I played against Ryan Fuller. What a friggin' piece of work. Like, geez. Like it was, I am glad that shit doesn't, like, genuinely glad that stuff doesn't exist anymore. Like the stuff I listen to is like nothing. Sure, there's like that Italian guy that got caught, like, you know, shuffle stacking. When you see that, just get rid of that person, move on. Like I know, like people like try to rationalize how to do things. Like for me, like somebody doing that is clearly not in the best interest of the game.
No,
it's not like, there was this opportunity to play this spell for one last in this key moment, right? It's like, or you know, like or other things of that ilk.
Yeah, like casting a Traverse the Elven Wald and saying you have to know when you don't.
That's a bit different, because that's a little more planned than you'd think. But the specific Traverse I think you're referencing,
I don't think,
because when you look at the mannerisms and stuff, there's a little more nastiness to that.
Yeah, there's sort of misdirection and stuff like that. But with the shuffle cheat from the Four Seasons, where the Surveil land just so happened to also be Vampiric Tutor.
Yeah, but like you can see it in the mannerism, you can see this person's done on a bunch. Anyways, but like we have very little of that. More people are a lot more friendly. You can just look at like how people write stuff as well. Like you can see the evolution of how writing is. Even the average person is a lot like more welcoming on tournaments. It is a lot better than it used to be.
And that's despite WotC doing their absolute best to torpedo the judge program and not.
Yeah.
So I hope it's changing. I know they hired a new judge manager, like a new manager for a judge program. I'm hoping we're going to see stuff from that soon.
Yeah. So I mean, that stuff is also, judges in general are being. This is interesting, by the way. Judges are actually being stretched right now. I don't think that's necessarily well known or discussed. All these new card games are a lot. Like, and the thing is, like, it makes sense to ask Magic judges, because a lot of them are used to logistics, talking to people, being diplomatic about situations.
Some of them have been doing it 25, 30 years as well.
Right. So like moving card game, like, no, of course. So they're over solicited, actually. It's a skill set that things that have been flow don't necessarily get into the judge program unless it's something you want to do, or judge style programs or initiatives. There is there's still not there's still a little bit too much demand compared to people being taken in, but there's certainly a lot of demand. There is, I feel, an increase, but there's also an increase in challenges. Like I played Riftbound with like just because somebody was showing me the game and the ropes, and I was like, what is this? Like, this is it's a cheater's paradise, that game. Like, there's multiple decks, actions per turn. You have a bunch of promo cards that are worth infinite, that once given are given. There's no like retraction that's easy. You're talking about manipulating a bunch of decks and multiple actions per turn involving multiple cards. There's a cost mechanic that's central to the game that has zero tracking. It's bad. Like, they'll have to change the way the game probably works in the near future. They're
definitely gonna have to do, because if it's my side,
and this is just me after like 20 minutes of playing the game.
Riftbound is my side chick, like my sort of like I'm not really trying. I've sort of bought some packs. I've got a deck pulled together. And the whole, like, so for people who listen to the pod and don't actually know, you pay a cost, and sometimes you have to like recycle a rune, so you need to then like basically shuffle it back into your pile. Like, I go to locals and I sort of, I'm a novice in this game, and I go, hey, how do you want me to represent this? And you get like whatever. I'm just going like,
no, but that's how it's.
Are you sure? Like, how should I? There should be a way that you do
probably
this.
Unless like there's a reason to. I would guess, and I don't want to like propose solutions to the game I don't play. I would guess you should, for the turn you do it, put it on the side, and then at end of turn do this stuff. Unless there's a core mechanic that asks you to do it sooner, which I suspect there's not. For the most part. So
I just feel like as a game, if it doesn't sort of mature around the edges for those type of things, that will be some of the reasons why, like you say, it's definitely in its flying to the moon stage. Is a point where the
and a bunch of people are playing. I'm just like, it's fine. It's just like, it's pretty clear, like, because also there's no differentiation. It's very hard to differentiate like ill intent from making a genuine mistake, like, because of the mechanics actually unusual. Like, it's something you'd have in other card games, but not that common. Compared to like, say, something like Lorcana, where there's a pretty clear, these are my resources, this is where I'm drawing. Like, while there are people who are, doing shady things in Lorcana, it's not like specifically different to what I would have seen in another card game historically.
No, for sure. So like, thinking and talking about card games in that way, I obviously we do see a lot of people like flip-flopping the commentary as well, and obviously you were in commentary at one time. Is this something we might see you back in at any point in the future? Has that got a bit of a passion?
I mean, I'd like to, but I would love to, but probably that ship has sailed, I say. I mean, it's the beauty of contract workers. At some point, move on. I think the current commentary team is also pretty good, to be honest. That's the other thing. They have a good dynamic. They're good people. They're clearly interested in staying. Like, yes, I'd like to, but there's not an infinity of spaces and of place and all that. Probably if I did, I guess I'd have to go in the back end of things, because I have that expertise, and back end tends to be a lot more open than front end. If you ever wanted to do like work with commentary stuff around tournaments, if you're technically minded, that's probably actually a better line of work, because they need those people, and they're much more regular for a variety of reasons. So if you're interested in that stuff, like, it's good to, like, I think once I did commentary not in the front but in the back, where I was a documentalist essentially. So I would do like pre-interviews. Ten and Grace got into that role as well, which is still front facing for the most part. Does a good job there. So there's opportunities, I think, in like commentary or in presenting around tournaments that are wider than I think people know. And yes, being on air is one thing, but you might not. It might not even be a question of you having the skill set or not. It's just a question of you might just not want to be in the limelight. And there's a ton of options. There's actually probably more options not being in the limelight than doing so.
Yeah.
I just like it. I just like looking at high stakes competition in Magic, right? I love seeing how it works, and I like wrapping my brain around it. So
it's just having
commentary was great when it happened.
It's just having a great time. I was very fortunate recently to do some of Mason for the 4 seasons, and it was like I was so shocked at like what goes into the back end. So like my experience prior to that, we've done regional things locally. We Scott and myself, we've set up with the help of Will Hall as well. We've sort of set up some stuff for like Axion, and but this is my first sort of like was my sort of like proper organization. I was like, there's loads of people doing loads of things, and I get to just talk about Magic. This is great. So, but
I love that we've had Eduardo on with us for an hour, and we have been taught how to test for large tournaments, or how to think about testing for large tournaments, how to draft basically in its entirety, and how to think about limited formats. And now we've got career advice as well.
Well, I mean, to be fair, my last job used that skill set, because it's actually not that common to have touched multiple angles. So like by doing back end work, I got exposed to things like how to do a schedule for like a broadcast, right? Or how to plan non-planned live content, right? Like, there's matches, but like the people on air don't know what they're going to say. We don't know how long the match is and stuff. So like that's a really good set to have, is how to deal with live broadcasts with bound and unbound like constraints. So like how to deal with that. So
yeah, like you have a 4-minute pre-recorded interview. You can slip that 4-minute interview here.
Yeah, but then like that's time away for someone. Like there's a lot to do, right? Like modulating is one thing, but it's another to like modulating length is one thing, but there's like modulating the quality. Like how do you make sure like the message is always on point for the audience is watching you? Like there's a lot in terms of, it's a lot of work.
Well, yeah, that's what Dave experienced with the 4 seasons, right? And realizing how, I'm going to say amateurish because I'm talking about our work, Dave, and I know we're allowed to criticize our own work like that. Of
course, yeah.
But in terms of the stuff we were doing for Axion, it was the two of us. Sometimes we'd have some friends helping us, like shout out Charlie and Ash, who did help us for a Mega Modern. But just having those two people turned us from, this is just a dude in a side room talking into a microphone while watching the games with me, to, but this is actually like proper coverage. Yeah. And then you move from there, you look at the 4 seasons, which are going to have their own team of people. And then Wizards of the Coast, I think even now the showrunners that they use for like Pro Tour coverage, they used to do like NFL coverage, and they are like
those people
like
know what they're doing.
The tippy top. They know what they are doing. They are unbelievable at their jobs, and that's why coverage has improved as well.
And we never say don't start, right? Like I think that like if we hadn't started, like we wouldn't have the opportunity now. But like just know that there's always growth if you're focusing on growing correctly, taking feedback, and moving up through the chain.
You got to set that camera up for the first time to have something to talk over, and then I know we're not the biggest podcast in the world, but you're here listening to us, so thank you. And we've managed to get Eduardo on as well, which has been honestly an absolute delight as well.
No, I know
it's a pleasure.
We appreciate having you for this hour, and obviously we would probably talk for another hour, but
easy.
but we all now need to go away and plan our next day. I also sort of got my Turtles team up ready for game out with my kids. This is my other thing. I'm getting my kids into draft tonight with a bit of Turtles team up. So there's playing the game in many forms, getting people going, and obviously if you're out there playing the game and getting involved competitively, casually, drafting or standardly or limitedly, enjoy getting your deck out this week. We'll see you on the next
Just for full disclosure for you, Eduardo, normally when we finish the episode, we run like an end credit sequence with some music from Dave's old indie emo band.
Nice.
And then there's normally two minutes normally of me just riffing, talking crap. But I thought this would be an appropriate place to ask, where does Walla Wumpa come from?
Oh, yeah, sure. As I told you in the pre-show, not the most interesting story, but I had an
That's why we put it right at the end. We drag them in.
I mean, when I first interacted online, I had a name, right? Because you're a kid and you just put whatever. It wasn't like a name of an identity. It was just a concept. So I was wondering, well, what could I, but when I played some MMOs, right, where they were like, you put the name of a character. I wasn't even the first name I put, but it was like the second or third. Because the first avatar wasn't really a representation. I was like, well, what would I call if it was myself? I was trying to figure out. And like how I named stuff back then, especially as a kid, was just syllable sequences, and I just liked the Walla Wumpa combination, like of those 4 syllables, and kind of decided to stick with it, basically.
Fair enough.
There's not a deeper meaning.
Honestly,
I mean,
regardless,
literally, while we've been recording, I have got my RuneScape character on the second monitor, which I called 11Zs, because when I started a group Ironman with my friends, I changed my screen name on all things to 11Zs because it just seemed to fit better.
My name's Dave. I was an emo back in the day, and
he's old.
and when I started coming back to the internet in my mid-30s, all emo Dave logins are gone, and I was now old. So, like, there we go. Like, simple as that. See you all.